England has a constitutional dilemma with Scotland. There was a treaty between the two countries in 1707, which England, broke the treaty and broke the Scottish claim of right, which is the Scottish Constitution, in 1708 and made Scotland a colony. Since then, it has lied about territory, about sovereignty of the Crown, parliaments. It's all a big con. It's all a lie. Before I go on and explain what this lie is in this short video, this video follows on from my previous video from a week ago. You can see the front screen there. If you haven't watched it, I'll summarize the key points now, just so that this video makes sense. In that video, Scotland, a sovereign territorial nation, I explained that the territory of Scotland, the Crown of Scotland, and the law in Scotland are still live and real. These did not merge with England in 1707. England has no rights to our territory. The people are sovereign in Scotland, not the monarch. Scotland doesn't have a monarch just now. England broke the Treaty of Union and made us a colony in 1708. They broke the treaty. The monarch of England is not the monarch of Scotland. He has not taken the Scottish coronation oath. The UK legally does not exist. It is a smokescreen, a continuous lie to all in the UK and the world. It's been broken almost as soon as it started. The 1689 claim of right, in effect Scotland's summarised written constitution, is within the 1707 Union Treaty. It's a live act today in its entirety, so therefore it's functioning and usable in Scotland today. The people of Scotland can use this law, and there has been cases in the last 10 or 15 years when it has successfully been used. Now to continue with this short video presentation. What is England's constitutional dilemma? Sovereignty. It is supreme power and authority in any state or nation. It covers the political, judicial, and territorial controls and rules of that country. In Scotland, sovereignty lies with the people. This is the basis of Scotland's written constitution, where the rights and powers of the people restrict and regulate the powers of government. Although that's still law now, it doesn't happen so much. It can happen, you have the power. But people don't know about it, and the English state and ignorance within the Scottish legal system allows it to be overruled and ignored. The Constitution was not swept away in 1707. In fact, it is specifically protected. When the Scottish Parliament illegally ratified the Treaty of Union, it also protected the Scottish Constitution. They did this by making the claim of right an act from 1689 a binding condition of the 1707 Union of Treaty. The words they used was "in all time coming." As an aside, Daniel Defoe, who was actually a writer and also a spy for a year and a half in Scotland for England, after the Union in 1709 he wrote a book about the history of the Union of Great Britain, and in that book he said this: "The laws of government in Scotland continue as the government continues, because established in the claim of right. I mean as the limitations of government and obedience. So the people, he's saying, can limit and have governments over the law, over the Parliament. Because of this, the claim of right in Scotland's distinct legal and constitutional system is continuing condition of the Union. It is also statutory law today. It is live. In other words, the Union is conditional. Without the claim of right continuing for Scotland, there is no legal union with England. So Westminster may not ignore, violate, or replace Scotland's constitution with England's unwritten constitution without ending the Union, a condition which both parties agreed to in 1707 in the written and signed treaty. But while the claim of right continues to have legal force, the actual situation is this. Although the sovereignty in Scotland still rests with the people and not Westminster, the parliamentary, judicial and government authority in Scotland is constitutionally limited, and it's constitutionally limited by the UK. The UK ignores the law it agreed with, and as time's gone on through the centuries, people in Scotland don't really know. Some do, some in the judicial do, and it has been used, as mentioned earlier, many times to win. A very famous one is the claim of right Stop Boris Johnson proroguing Westminster a few years ago. The UK state, which is simply England by another name, could never allow the kind of political independence the people of Scotland are entitled to. They had no intention of doing this. Remember that we have been a colony since 1708 with centuries of lies, a treaty broken within 1 year, and a long narrative of what the UK is. It's now too late for the UK to be truthful to the people of these islands and the world now. Too much water has flown under the bridge. But suppose the UK state suddenly said that the claim of right no longer has real force and that Westminster is fully sovereign in Scotland. Then, according to the 1707 Treaty and Acts of Union, which is the only legal partnership agreement, the Union has also been discarded. It ceases to exist in law. So that Act protects Scottish power. We just need to learn to use it. If a single kingdom had ever created, it wasn't. It ceased to exist legally when the claim of right was first violated in 1708. In actual fact, that single kingdom mentioned here never did happen, as it says. So the UK state pretends the Union still legally exists and the Claim of Right Act remains the law. But at the same time it ignores, violates and replaces it with English law and the English constitutional tradition. Sadly, since 1708, England has continually ignored the Claim of Right and the Treaty of Union. For instance, they have no right to Scotland's natural resources, but they take them as a coloniser, still illegal. The scales of justice are not in balance. So this is the heart of the contradiction within the UK state. The British state insists there is a legal and continuing union, and that Scotland is a partner in that union. But it also insists that Westminster is sovereign in Scotland, under the pre-Union English doctrine of parliamentary sovereignty, which cuts right across the claim of right. Both can't be true. If the partnership exists, then its founding condition applies, and the Claim of Right Act must continue to have legal effect in Scotland. If it does not, then there is no union. The English-British state cannot resolve the contradiction without either being forced to honour the guarantees for Scotland provided by the Claim of Right, or having to acknowledge that there is no union and no United Kingdom. This is why the Claim of Right has become invisible in the UK and Scots law. Why it has been made invisible, treated as decorative history. No dramatic repeal, no open confrontation, just silence, hoping it would go away. It nearly did. An independence organisation, Salvo, intends to rescue it by forcing the contradiction, the catch-22, into the open. We can take Scotland back by the Claim of Right. We can rescue it by arguing It is a living constitutional law in Scottish courts, challenging breaches of the Act, defending our right using the Act, challenging the assumption that England's parliamentary sovereignty can override Scottish constitutional limits without ending the Union, spreading the word about the rights and powers of the people of Scotland according to the claim of right, accurately and unapologetically. And the UK must choose one thing or the other. Does Scotland's constitutional sovereignty continue, limiting Westminster authority in Scotland, or is the foundational condition of the Union breached and the Union is finished? It's a catch-22. Avoiding the question has been very convenient for the English state. Answering it will not be. The state between Scotland and England is on a sugly peg. Sugly is a Scots word which means loose, so it's liable to fall off if you have a peg that's sugly. But if the people in Scotland use a claim of right power, use it to get independence, use it to teach others our law, teach that the Union is a lie, teach that the UK does not exist. Here's a dream. Just imagine that the Scottish National Party, once they get past the election in May 26, have a revelation, and they actually talk to other people for the first time, other part of the independence movement, and they learn about the claim of right. They've refused to talk to Salvo and other groups. But imagine they did. Prior to the next scheduled Westminster election in 2029, imagine if they told the people that at that Westminster election there will only be one mandate, and that is independence. Start a campaign 2 or 3 years before. Let everybody know. Get people on the streets. Get a campaign going. And then when they win a vast majority of votes and seats, which they would, they simply claim independence as the will of the people in the claim of right, the sovereignty of the people to tell the government what to do. They could do it. They have the power, but I doubt they will. Thank you for listening to my video. That's the end. These are the videos that I've made, and that's my URL. If you go into the YouTube search bar and type in @RobertAnderson9116, all these videos will be listed, or you can simply key in the words are shown here. I plan to do this next. It'll take a bit of time to create this next video. Scotland, by the people, for the people. If we got independence and wanted to create and reinstall in a modern way the power of the people to be sovereign in the future, what structure, what physical, political structure could we use? In summary, I'll put 3 or 4 examples forward. And then I intend to do another Brexit video to follow on from the one I did a couple of months ago. Thank you very much for listening.